Hey, I'm Lily Birchfield and welcome back to me watching all of the Three Musketeers movies until I play D'Artagnan this summer. This is our first episode with Ella. She does not care about being in this at all. This week we are watching The Man in the Iron Mask. This was actually my first introduction to the Three Musketeers, and I had a slight dislike for it as a child because I didn't like that John Malkovich had such a strong American accent in it. I've gotten over it. I think that it's such a fun convention that they do now with the Three Musketeers movies, where they all just have their own accents. While I watch this movie, I will be doing face masks and doing my skincare routine because I just took a shower. And why not? I think it's fun. I'm also cooking, and I just had a glass of wine. So, be prepared for some silly Lily. A little backstory. Over the summer, I talked with our choreographer a lot about how badly I wanted to do the Three Musketeers. And I rewatched this movie after the summer ended and was like, God, if I am not in the Three Musketeers this year, I'm gonna lose my mind. It was not a guarantee that this show was gonna happen. I just was like, I wanna play D'Artagnan at some point. It would be really cool to do it this year. And so I rewatched this movie and immediately texted our choreographer saying how much I need to play D'Artagnan and how badly I want a silly little hat. And we were bonding over our love for this movie in particular. This episode is not sponsored, but if you want to join in on where I am mentally, crack open a cold one. My dog is seriously judging me, and she will this entire episode. She is a hound, so she does some major side-eye and big sighs. She's so tired of me already. I need to preface with this. I haven't even made it through the opening sequence, and Ella has already abandoned me and is on her ottoman to the side of the apartment. 2, I have not read The Man in the Iron Mask, so I cannot attest to how accurate it is to Dumas' short story of The Man in the Iron Mask. Getting that out off the bat. So this episode will probably be rated off of nostalgia, hot men, characterization. That's all I've got, really. One thing I do know is that Dumas came up with writing the novel The Three Musketeers because of entries he had seen in histories about a young man named D'Artagnan. And then he just kind of snowballed from there. This movie opens with a historical entry about the storming of the Bastille, in which a prisoner is referenced and called The Man in the Iron Mask. I don't know if that's accurate to the short story, and I might do research at some point, but as of filming this, I don't know. However, I do think that's a really fun thing to add into this because of how Dumas wrote the novel. I do also think it's important to mention that as a child, I only ever saw the edited for TV version of this movie. We had it recorded on DVR one year when I had gotten sick, and I think I watched it while I was sick like 5 times, just in that like 1 week. And I remember specifically, I had read why it was rated the way it was. Technically in this it's rated R. When I was watching it edited for TV, it was rated like PG-13. And I remember seeing the Three Musketeers novel in our school's library, private Christian school. And I was telling someone about it, and I was like, this is Three Musketeers. Have you ever seen the movie The Man in the Iron Mask? It's based off of them. And that person was like, cool, okay. And I was like, yeah, but it's like adult. It's PG-13 for like suggestive scenes. I was in like 4th grade. I didn't know what that meant. It was the same with Count of Monte Cristo. I also loved that one. I just loved Dumas at a young age for no reason. I mean, I had a reason, but I didn't know why at the time. Before we get any further in the movie, I'm starting off with a little face mask that I won at Dave & Buster's. Okay, 20 minutes. This is genuinely what the Iron Mask looks like on Leonardo DiCaprio. Spoilers if you haven't seen this. Leonardo DiCaprio is in the Iron Mask. I forgot that in this one, Porthos actually has a French accent. Jeremy Irons plays Aramis, and he's in his sad boy era. He's back in the church, and Porthos is trying to get him laid. And so a bunch of girls burst into Aramis's room while he's praying, and they're like, "We want to have sex with you." And Porthos is like, "You would have enjoyed it too. He's hung like a donkey." Crazy thing to say about your friend. Starting off strong on telling us who these people are. I love that Jeremy Irons just sounds like Scar as Aramis, and the guy that plays Porthos is going all in on the French accent. I love it. I don't know if he's actually French. He probably is. Fart jokes. Nice. I absolutely adore John Malkovich in this movie. He's talking to his son about getting engaged and how any woman would be lucky enough to have him as her husband because he's Athos' son. So yes, John Malkovich plays Athos in this. Oh, Leonardo DiCaprio just made a gay joke. He's just told Aramis, "I need you to kill the leader of these riots in Paris, because how could you be rioting in Paris? It's the most beautiful place in the world. Who cares if you're hungry and starving?" And then he tells his advisors, "We have stocks of food left over for the army, correct?" And they're like, "It's about to go bad." And he's like, "Well, you better distribute it fast." Obviously, we hate Leonardo DiCaprio's character in this film. He then is like primping and preening in front of the mirrors, and then he turns to the window and he sees Athos' son with a young woman, and they're talking, and it's obviously Athos' son's fiance. They're chit-chatting, and Leonardo DiCaprio sees her and goes, "Who is that?" His advisor says, "Oh, well, that is Athos' son, Raoul." And Leonardo DiCaprio says, "Your taste may go towards young soldiers, but I'm inquiring about the woman on his arm." I hate Leonardo DiCaprio so much in this movie, but he's a cutie pie. I know his character sucks, and he's an awful king, but he's such a cutie pie. D'Artagnan's like, "I was not given the plans for this game that you're trying to play today." And he's like, "But I'm the king. Please let me play my game." And D'Artagnan's like, "You rascal, I guess I have to." I know it's a translation issue, because when you translate something from one language into English, the order doesn't always matter as much as it does in English. English is the order of things matters more than the endings of the words, but in other languages, a lot of times it's the ending of the word that dictates what order it's then translated into English. It does bother me that it's not consistent throughout every translation and every adaptation, whether or not it's all for one and one for all, or it's one for all and all for one. This version keeps on doing one for all and all for one, but growing up, I think the Disney version did all for one and one for all. Not the Disney version, the Mickey Mouse version. And so I don't know which is proper, but it also doesn't matter which is proper, which bothers me. The costumes in this. There are some really gorgeous costumes, and I absolutely adore them, but one thing I always kind of get annoyed with when it comes to films like this and the costuming is when you pan over across a crowd, you see a lot of women, specifically in this silhouette, that have the shoulders are like across the shoulder, and then they've got really puffed sleeves. But whoever is the love interest of the film does not have big puffed sleeves. Like, whereas most girls in the film, their sleeves are like, whoa, boom. The love interest is like, oh. And I know it's to like fit the modern standard of whenever this film was made, but let my girls have puffed sleeves! That's like the best part of the mini-series Anne of Green Gables, is that she got them puffed sleeves, you know? And they're puffed. And they're beautiful. I also have noticed in 2 of the Musketeers movies that I've watched in my life, the woman that plays the love interest is simply a pretty face. That actress cannot act. When Raoul was proposing to her, she was like, tell me, Raoul, you know I would be happier than any girl in the world. Like, it's so bad. Can we bring back pig chases? This is so much fun. They dressed a pig up like a unicorn, tied a necklace with a diamond on top of the horn, and set him loose, and everyone's having to chase after him, and it looks like a blast. I want to do this for my next birthday party. But I'd probably do it with my dog, and she wouldn't run away from anyone. She just wants to cuddle everyone. She's passed out right now. First of all, D'Artagnan, I love this guy. He's overhearing the king flirting with Athos's son's fiance, and he interrupts them by picking up the pig, making it squeal and run towards them. Then one of the musketeers comes running towards the king to kill him with a knife. And D'Artagnan is behind this water feature and throws a sword, throws a rapier that then hits him in the heart. And the effects for it are so bad. I love it so much. But also, I'm a little confused because I think Leonardo DiCaprio's character just insinuated that a lady in waiting is a mistress to the king, which on occasion, yes, but that's not a foregone conclusion, because he tells Christine, the fiance, that she would make a lovely lady in waiting, and she says, I'm already engaged to Raoul. It's like, it's not exactly what that means, but okay. Okay, we have our first scene with the man in the iron mask. Do we think that these scenes filmed with the mask on are actually Leonardo DiCaprio with a mask on, or is it just a body double? Because he's attached to bars and is just clinking the mask over the bars, and I highly doubt Leonardo did that. My boy is stubborn and ignorant, and I say that out of love. So we find out that Raoul is being sent to the front lines of the military, even though he's already served his time on the front lines. Obviously, Athos jumps to conclusions after Raoul tells him that the king has noticed Christine, and Athos immediately is like, it's because he wants to get with Christine. And D'Artagnan is like, it's not at the king's behest. You know, these things just happen. And Athos is like, the king is a dog. He wants to sleep with my son's fiance. And D'Artagnan's like, don't say mean things about my king. And I get it. So what we find out later is he's in love and is hooking up with Queen Anne. And so out of his loyalty for Queen Anne, he's like, I can't say anything bad about the king. Also, he's a musketeer, so he's literally the king's bodyguard, so he can't say anything bad about the king. I love D'Artagnan, but in this movie, he pisses me off. And it's not the movie's fault. It's probably the source material. And this is exactly why I love this movie so much, because it gets to some of the heart of the gender politics within the novel of women are used and discarded. And Athos says, if this king sacrifices my son's life for a lover, then he is my enemy. And anyone who stands between me and him is also my enemy. Flat out telling D'Artagnan, if my son dies, I'm killing you and the king. And I love it. Now on to the gender politics of the women just being used for the pleasure of the men. That is all throughout the novel originally. It's also discussed in the way of like women in isolation and women being used as objects and women's autonomy and the distrust that men feel towards women because of Eve and all of those things. And so now it's different. It's women need to be protected because they can't possibly do that themselves. But also, this is a very powerful man using military force to ensure that he can sleep with this woman. And when she finds out that her fiance has died and the king wants her, like, what's a girl to do? I don't blame this girl at all. The people in the crowd start throwing apples at him that are rotten. And he slices one with his sword, and then another one he skewers with his sword and takes a bite out of it. And the effects are so good. At least he acknowledges that they're supposed to be serving France, the people, and not just the king. The secret passages in this movie. Mwah. Oh, I hate him so much. D'Artagnan confronts the king and is like, you sleep with a lot of women. And you know, maybe they're using you for your crown. Although we literally just watched Leonardo DiCaprio leave a woman in his bed and say, I'm hungry. By the way, you're leaving tomorrow. The king says, well, maybe I just haven't met a woman with a heart of my own until recently, referring to Christine. I hate him so much. I hate him so much. The next time there are rioters, shoot them. God, I hate him in this movie so much. I don't love him as a person in general, but God, I hate him in this movie so much. Maybe this movie is what radicalized me as a kid. This woman playing Christine is not a good actress at all. And some of these cuts are just weirdly delayed. But I still love this movie. Raoul just died, so Athos is about to go crazy town. Athos immediately decking D'Artagnan. Good! I like that I can be less critical with this because I'm just watching it for the pure fun and characterization of it all. The king has invited Christine over for dinner. She's dressed really fancily, and now he's got her drunk, and they're back in his chambers. But if you look at the back of her costume, you can very clearly see that it's being held together with hook and eyes. I don't know how accurate that is to the time period. I don't believe it is accurate. I believe in the time they would have used laces, because those can be adjusted with weight gain. But the king gave her this dress, so maybe he doesn't have to think about that. Hell may be our destination, but not this trip. Love Aramis is dramatic. I'm so glad he's back. So the king slept with Christine. There were lacings underneath the hooks and eyes. I'm very confused at the makeup of that dress. The politics in this one are so well done. So remember at the beginning, Louis told Aramis, I want you to find the leader of the Jesuits and I want you to kill him. So Aramis has just gathered around the Musketeers, D'Artagnan, Athos, Porthos, and himself, and has revealed what the king has asked him to do, but also revealed that he's the leader of the Jesuits. Mind you, Jesuits were people who followed Jesus, and in this time period specifically opposed the war of King Louis and the starvation of the people of Paris, which personally I think Jesus would be against as well. I'm not saying anything about current events in that. Oh, this movie's so good. D'Artagnan is essentially trying to refuse this plan to replace the king. We don't know this yet. The man in the iron mask is the king's twin, and so they're going to replace him. D'Artagnan says that he can't because his duty is to the king. Athos says when the king is dishonorable, your oath to protect him goes away, essentially. D'Artagnan's like, I can't. And Aramis is like, one for all and all for one, bud. We can't do this without you. When the king is dishonorable, you are removed from your oath. Love! This scene has some bangers. The next time we meet, one of us will die. Love. I cannot go with you. I serve my king. Then God go with you, for none of us will. Oh, I love this so much. Every line of this movie has like true meat to it. D'Artagnan talks about how he was told when he became a musketeer that every time he draws his sword, he should not ask what he was killing, but what he was allowing to live. And then he says to the king, Athos has gone against us. We have to ask ourselves why. This is not a movie that you can just sit back and watch while you're scrolling on your phone, and I love it. I'm so tired of dialogue that is made to be listened to while you are scrolling on your phone. I love the meat of this. I love the disguises that the Musketeers use in these movies. They're so fun. Now, I don't love a fat suit in a movie, but Aramis pretending to be fat by carrying a dead body on top of himself and then escaping with Leonardo DiCaprio replacing that body on top of himself. Peak comedy and also insane behavior. All right, they take the iron mask off of him and reveal it's a very hairy Leonardo DiCaprio. Doing like this. He's doing this number with his hair. And then he's got like beard and mustache. And when he looks at himself in still water, he faints. Yeah. I might have to do this in 2 parts. I'm getting so sleepy. So, Aramis has just revealed that the queen gave birth to twins, and the man in the mask, Philippe, is the younger twin to King Louis. He also has revealed that he was the one who put Philippe in that mask 6 years ago as duty to his king. We get a little bit of backstory hearing about how the night that the king was born, Athos, Porthos, and D'Artagnan were drinking together, and D'Artagnan was dead drunk that night. It's because the woman he loved was giving birth, which is a very scary thing. So he was drinking away the pain. Then when the king died, he told his son Louis about the twin, and Louis demanded that the twin be put into a mask. I'm gonna have to do this in 2 parts. I will do the rest of this tomorrow. I'm very tired and my dog is mad at me. She wants me to go to bed. Welcome to night 2 of Man in the Iron Mask. We're back and we're going to continue. Okay, where we left off in the last bit was Aramis has revealed why this young man was in the Iron Mask. His name is Philippe. He's Louis's twin brother. He has now revealed that he wants to swap Philippe for Louis. Make Philippe king, because Louis is too unwieldy to be king. We don't know if Philippe has agreed to this or not. He just walked away because he was really overwhelmed. King Louis and his mother have been informed that Philippe has been killed in the prison. And there's a really cool moment where Louis grabs the mask that has been delivered to him and puts it up to his face. And then he like throws it down because he's like, oh, that's so claustrophobic. Oh, gross. Then we see Queen Anne in mourning at the church. And D'Artagnan comes and comforts her. And she starts to kiss him. And he's like, to love you is to die. If we're caught, it will be death. And she says, not to love you is to die. And then they start kissing again. She begins to leave. D'Artagnan says, Anne, to love you is treason to France, but not to love you is treason to my heart. This movie gets the yearning. I don't know if anything else is accurate, but they understand the yearning. So, Athos is really upset about this plan. He does not think that Philippe is going to be able to follow through on it because Philippe has been in a prison for the past 6 years and does not know anything about polite courtier society. Aramis disagrees. He says he was educated 16 years as a noble. And Athos is like, yeah, but then for 6 years he was thrown into prison and that trauma has done something to him. As they're arguing, Porthos has been having a little romp in the hay. His little friend is not helping him out. He's having erectile dysfunction, and he decides that not being able to complete the action of sex means that life is not worth living. So he goes to kill himself. But Aramis sawed the beam which the rope was attached to, and so when he attempts, the whole building collapses on him. Do you think it's really funny that Porthos is like, I'm useless to women, I'm useless to the world? So dumb. Okay, so they have realized that they need to give Philippe a reason why he should do this plan. They give him the reason. Athos is being, he didn't want his son to die in vain because of a dream that he had that they would be fighting for a worthy king. Long story to get there. Anyway, cut to training montage of Philippe. There's scenes of Athos teaching him to sword fight. And they're doing rapier and dagger. But Athos is doing rapier, dagger, and shield, which is a crazy combo. I'm sure it can be done. I've just never seen it in film before, but like crazy work. Really cool to see. So the Musketeers plan to replace Louis on the night of his big masquerade ball. But surprise, he's bumped up the date of the masquerade ball because he's pissed off at his mistress and wants something to distract him. His mistress being Christine, who just received a letter from Raoul, her dead fiance, who sent a letter from the battlefront to the palace knowing that when he died, the king was going to start betting Christine. King's pissed off, he's having a ball. So now the Musketeers are scrambling because they have to get all the preparations for the ball like days in advance. But now they've sent him off to replace the king. So at the ball, they have decided to all wear the iron mask, and gaslight isn't the right word, but maybe it is. They gaslight Louis. They keep on showing their iron mask and then putting up a different mask in front of it to kind of make him feel like he's going crazy. And then he runs off and they take the secret passageways into his rooms and punch him in the face and say it's Judgment Day. Then replace him with Philippe. Something that made me really sad the first time I rewatched this as an adult was the fact that D'Artagnan is so separate from the other Musketeers. But I get it now. It's supposed to be like, in the novel, D'Artagnan is the only one that isn't a Musketeer. So they are in a different category from D'Artagnan. Now, D'Artagnan is the only one who is still a Musketeer. So he's still in a different category from the others. So it's a really cool shift in station, I guess, that they get to have. So Philippe has joined the ball, and he seems to be doing an okay job of convincing everyone that he is King Louis, except he's just being too nice. And so the Queen Mother comes into the ball. They chit chat, and she's very excited to have her son Philippe back, which is kind of funny. I'm curious about that decision because she's like, yeah, my son Louis, he's hopeless. There's no saving him. So don't really care what happens to him. Glad to have Philippe back. Like, I understand being like really excited to have your son who's you thought was dead come back. But just not caring at all what happens to the other son is really funny to me. Anyways, his mom goes away. D'Artagnan's like, how did the king get from his chambers to the ball and I didn't see it while I was guarding his room? What? He used the secret passageways. But then Christine comes running in, screaming murderer, and claiming that she wrote to the front under the king's seal asking why they defied his orders, and the battlefront says, you told us to put him literally right in front of the cannon. Don't know what to tell ya. So she now knows that the king is the reason Raoul is dead. But instead of acting like King Louis, Philippe says to her, however I have wronged you, I will make amends, which is very out of character for Louis. In character for Philippe, though. He's a very caring boy. God, I love a practical set. So D'Artagnan wasn't believing this plan at all in the slightest, and he figured it out right as they were about to escape with King Louis. And they think that they're about to get away with it, and then D'Artagnan holds a knife to Philippe and says, you kill my king, I'll kill yours. So then they trade off kings, start backing out, and the Musketeers get Philippe. Womp womp. Kind of traumatizing, like, actually. But then you like watch them standing in the boat, and it's very clearly like a pool, so it kind of brings a little bit of levity. But now Louis is going to really like interrogate Philippe, and that poor boy's gonna crack under pressure. Damn! He was kind of scary as King Louis. But also, D'Artagnan's sitting there listening to him tell him to hunt down his best friends from his childhood. Meanwhile, he's like well into his 40s, and the king is like 23. Let me actually do that math. 22. The king's 22. And he's like, hunt down your best friends and kill them, or else I will kill you. Hearing a 22-year-old say that to me, I'd be like, go die. No. No. I was killing men when you were born. No. Actually, yeah. Especially because D'Artagnan is extremely hot-headed. I get this is supposed to happen after like 20 years and his love of his life died and that made him less hot-headed, but like he's still a Gascon. Like it's still in there. I also don't love every time somebody says the name Athos, they say Athos, which sounds like pathos, which as a kid I thought for some reason that the Musketeers were named after the appeals, I guess. That's kind of how I always heard it referenced, was like appealing to that sense. But yeah, I thought they were named after like pathos, ethos, and logos. Wrong. It's because I didn't actually know their names at the time. But yeah, they keep on calling him Athos, which is certainly a choice. In the scene where Philippe and Louis have confronted each other, Louis sends Philippe back to the prison and back to be sentenced to the mask, even though Philippe asks him to kill him just as long as he doesn't have to go back to the mask and the prison. Louis says, you will live in the mask until you love it, and then you'll die. So he's back there. Meanwhile, Christine unalived herself. I loved this movie as a child, and there's so much of it that I think I blocked out because of trauma. I'm fine. D'Artagnan's not lost. He left a message in the catacombs for the other musketeers saying, Philippe has been sent to the Bastille, and I'm going to delay the guard change at this time. This is when you strike to bring him out. In response to that, Porthos said, I'd rather die in blood than an old man in my own piss. Aramis opens up a tomb and grabs their old uniforms because they didn't each individually keep their uniforms, only Aramis kept them. And he says, I kept them so that we could wear them in death. And so we shall, and throws them at Athos and Porthos. I love the drama and the flair in these movies. Oh, the yearning and the romance. D'Artagnan rides up on his horse out in front of where Queen Anne is as she's walking past at midnight, and he lays down a rose for her to come and get, with like tears welling in his eyes, and she locks eyes with him and just and then he rides off knowing that he's probably gonna die on this mission. The romance. Ooh, I want one. When they get Philippe from the Bastille, they say something to the effect of, we thought that you would crumble when you got put back in the mask, and he says, I wear the mask does not wear me. Beautiful. Honestly, like, the writing of this movie is so beautiful. Just gorgeous, flowery language, and I love it. Like I said, I really miss watching things that weren't made to be watched with your phone in hand. It's just so well done. And then D'Artagnan joins them, and I got kind of teary-eyed and emotional. And now they're all fighting 20 musketeers that are coming at them. And Louis like, why are you 20 men running away from 4? And the guy that betrayed them is like, nobody wants to fight the captain being D'Artagnan. I might cry at the end of this. I forgot that D'Artagnan is actually the father of Louis and Philippe. Forgot about that little detail. I was ready to cry, and then he goes, I can give up the life of my king, but I cannot give up the life of my son. The drama! I love the ending of this movie. So they're trapped in a corridor. They don't really have a way out, so they're deciding what they should do. King Louis yells to them, basically, D'Artagnan, if you surrender yourself, I'll spare you, but I'm gonna kill your friends. And they're all like, you should probably take that deal. And he's like, absolutely not. And Aramis is like, these are young musketeers. They were raised on the legends of our years as musketeers. We kind of have that as an advantage. They're not gonna want to actually kill us. And so D'Artagnan then says, no, I trained them to fight to the death. They're not gonna give up. Then they decide, all for one for all, they're gonna charge and sacrifice themselves if they must. So they charge. They come sprinting out of the corridor. And as they do, the guy that betrayed them goes, magnificent valor. I want that tattooed. Magnificent valor. And all of the musketeers turn their eyes away as they shoot. Because they have to shoot. The king will kill them if they don't. So then the corridor's covered in smoke, and they all come walking out of the smoke, and all of the musketeers salute them with their rapiers. Oh, it's so good. So Louis charges Philippe with a dagger to kill him. And D'Artagnan steps in front of him and dies. And as they're holding him, he says, all my life, this is the death that I always wanted. I just really love D'Artagnan. You know, these guys and their friendship, I love it. These are real tears too. I can't make myself cry. I wish I could, but I can't. Like, if I'm crying, it's always genuine. Rock and roll. I didn't think I was gonna cry rewatching this. The poetry. Philippe looks at him and says, "You were the one in the mask." Because he had to hide who he really was. That didn't actually make me cry. See, I'm not crying on that one. Okay. So they do the swap again. They switch out Philippe and Louis. And when the guards of the Bastille come and they find them, they send Louis away with the mask on. And the guardsman asks what to do with the three musketeers. And Philippe says, "They are my closest friends, my council members, I guess." And it pans to the three of them without D'Artagnan, and they kneel in front of him, but they're old, so they have to help each other kneel, and they're holding hands. I love this.